Hi everyone, welcome back to the Lightworkers. Today we have Amber with us, and I'm so excited to hear all about her healing journey and how she got into tarot and just delve deeper into that. So, welcome, Amber, and how are you doing?
What a loaded question. No, just kidding. Thanks for having me, first off. I really appreciate the invitation. Um, I am doing well. Yes. Working my
Yeah,
way. I was in a little bit of one of those little black holes for a little bit. And so now I feel extra good because I have the contrast of not feeling good. So now I'm even more appreciative. So
yeah.
feeling, yeah, I am doing well now, which is good.
Okay. Sounds good. So then why don't you tell us, Amber, about your tarot journey, how you got into it, and was that your entry point into the spiritual world, or was there something else, before that?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Well, I'm glad you have a long form podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, as you know, and as most people, it's not instantaneous usually. It's like a series of small steps, and that's how my journey has been as well. But my tarot
Mm,
journey specifically started that I was a very staunch and I don't maybe strict is a good word, just for me,
mm,
Catholic. I was born into it. And it's funny because as I grew older and realized my parents weren't near as strict or like adhering to all of the guidelines and the rules of
mm,
the church, it was just me and the way that I'm built. I think just my personality or the type of person that I am. And I think I've always been very connected to spirit or very connected to a higher power, or whatever you want to call it, the great mystery.
yeah.
And I think for me as a kid, taking things very literally, well, if that's what the
Mm,
highest power in the entire, existence says, that these are the rules, of course, being like not understanding, like, oh, yeah, through the filter of people and
mm, mm,
flawed humans. And so I was really afraid of going to hell most of my life because, of course, being a human, it's almost impossible to follow all of these rules without breaking some of them because, again, like we're part animal. These bodies, like we have a lizard brain, we make great decisions that come from a centered place, and we make impulsive decisions, and and that's part of being human, now that I realize that now.
mm,
But so I was suppressing so many things, trying to follow all the rules and be the good girl. And
mm,
um, so fast forward, and it got to the point where there were some changes in the structure of like the worship service. There was some things when Pope Benedict got there, and there was a part in the church service that was like, through my fault, through my fault, through my most grievous fault, where you like literally pound yourself with a fist. And
mm.
something clicked, and I was like, what the hell is this bullcorn? And I didn't use corn.
Yeah.
Like, what? I mean, like, no wonder I'm screwed up. No wonder I'm confused. No wonder I'm worried to die every single day, that I'm going to go to hell. Like, this is what it was it helped to have this extreme version.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
And say, like, oh, no, no, this is not who I am. And, more power to anybody who still goes to church. I realize now people go for community, they
mm.
go for comfort, they go for a lot of reasons. And
Yeah,
not, but mine, I wanted connection,
yeah, yeah.
but that was not no longer where I found it. And so I left pretty immediately after that. And I was like, I don't want to give my money to these people. And so it gave me permission to explore. And
Mm,
somewhere along the road, I don't know even how I ended up with a deck of tarot cards. I knew it probably came from the Magic Cauldron, a little magic shop in Montrose that I drove by and had been curious pretty much the whole time I lived here. And I walked out with a tarot deck and tarot for dummies.
wow.
And that was probably 2012.
Mm,
And so, in a series of things, how I ended up offering it to other people, it was never an option for me. It was always a
right.
person. As COVID hit, I owned a business. I was trying to juggle two kids having school from home. I was trying to run a business, pay paychecks. We were losing clients. So
Mm,
I kept cutting back on my paycheck because I was like, well, I'm the owner. You make sure everybody's taken care of. And to the point of which I was like, whoa, this is not sustainable. And it's actually
Mm,
what I want to do with the rest of my life. So it's a
right.
huge. And my business partner, she was awesome. She taught me so many things. So I sold my shares of the business to her, and she got married that same year. And she asked me to read tarot because she knew it was a hobby
Mhm.
at her wedding. And I mean, it was that simple. It's like the things you don't expect.
Right.
And my husband was like, I've never seen you so happy. You really look like you're having a good time and people seem to really enjoy it. You should consider doing this for other people.
Mm.
Here I am.
Wow. So this sounds like very serendipitous, and also, you surrendering to a lot of things and things moving, right?
That's like the story of all the big things in my life. It's
Yeah.
sort of, it's never I'm not a person who can manifest like very specific things. I have
Hmm.
realized that about myself and I've had to accept it
Right.
because it doesn't work that way for me. It's almost always a surprise.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I never know when it's going to arrive. And I just have to kind of be open minded. And I'm probably going to resist the hell out of it at
Hmm.
first.
Mm.
And then once I surrender, I just realize like how magical it can be and that I don't have to do all the work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just have to find the frequency that I feel good in
Hmm.
as the common denominator of like making hard choices that feel logically um, against all of the things that I've
Yeah.
done because they're so new and because nobody I know does similar things or there's no roadmap.
Hmm.
It feels like, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it comes out of left field. And usually it's a small, subtle thing too that's planted like 10 years before.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really crazy. But
So
it,
yeah, go ahead.
no, understanding that too has helped, kind of helped me lighten up about, okay, this is weird. My TV just turned on by itself.
Oh,
What is happening? So let me turn it off.
yeah. Spirit is here.
Got the good chills. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
So I know it's just trying to tell us something. I don't know what it is.
Okay, we're back. So, Amber, why don't we talk a little bit more about what tarot is for people who don't know, and then, the ways in which you have used this modality? Because we know about readings, and I guess people have heard, in popular culture, all of that, but it's much more than that, right? Like the way tarot can be used. So, if you can just tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, thank you. That's a great question because I think there is a misconception. Um, I think it's slowly being like people are having more experiences with it that are different from what they see on TV.
Yeah.
So the technical definition of tarot is that I feel like it's the world's first open system. Like I think about WordPress, and
Right.
this is like the analog version of that because it is a system in which there are specific archetypes that
Mm-hmm.
are used, and it's pretty fair. It like there's room within these systems to have totally different interpretations,
Mm-hmm.
but for the most part, it's a reliable system that if you get a card deck that's a tarot specific, it will
Mm-hmm.
have 22 major arcana cards or arcana. I've heard it pronounced both ways. That they're called majors because they're the trump cards because
Right.
it used to be an actual game. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like when you would pull one of those out, they would trump the any one of the four suits. But they're kind of the soul's journey. So these are
Mm.
the really big picture themes that we go through in a lifetime, or
Right.
depending on your belief system, many
Mm-hmm.
lifetimes, hundreds, thousands.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so then we go to the four suits. We have wands, which represent the element of fire, which in my interpretation and what I've been taught and what feels right to me is
Mm.
the energy of creativity and passion and enthusiasm.
Mm.
And just like magnets, there's a pull to everything. So you have the highest expression, which I think is probably creativity and inspiration of
Mm.
fire. And then fire can also be very destructive. It can be jealousy, envy, anger. So it's a lot of that hot energy is how I think about it, and the
Right.
emotions and the feelings that are associated with it. And then we have okay, what comes next? Cups.
Mm.
And those are emotions. That is the energy that flows through us. And also, like, I think about the heart, and that's how the heart speaks, is through this energy of emotion. And the other
Mm.
day, I heard that emotions, energy in motion.
Right.
I really loved that. Maybe it was even from your from your Instagram. I'm not sure. And so it's about how we feel into life, how we feel about decisions, a lot of like the energy of love, which is a feeling.
Mm. Yeah.
And then we have the suit of swords, which is mental energy and intellect. So
Mm-hmm.
thinking mind, and not surprisingly, so many swords come up because we are such a mental focused species. We
Right.
evolved thanks to these giant heads and the
Yeah.
things inside that it contains. And so it's about logical thinking, that kind of like just using your mind. And
Mm-hmm.
then finally, we have pentacles, which is like physical existence, anything you can touch, taste, smell, hear, or feel. Or also, I think things that are limited resources like time,
Right.
and on occasion, like actual energy. But I kind of
Mm-hmm.
relate that back to the one. So, and I didn't tell you the elements. I only started with fire. So let me go back. Cups are water.
Yeah.
And we have swords are air. And finally, we have pentacles, which are earth. So
Mm-hmm.
that is a very long description of tarot. And each
Mm.
suit has an ace through 10. And then
Right.
they have like the page, the knight, the queen, and the king.
Mm-hmm.
So you have like the day to day, and then you have kind of like those, it's even separated in that way. So it's even like, it's like playing cards in that way.
Yeah. And apart from reading, how else do you use tarot?
Okay. It's fun to play with them. Like really
Mm.
fun.
Mm.
I have done, well, I say play, but this to me it is playful feeling. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
speaking to my ancestors,
Wow.
getting mediumship messages.
Mm-hmm. How do you do that?
It's 100% the intention. So
Right.
however you want to use the cards,
Mm-hmm.
it is sort of like my intention that I set is to receive a message from my grandmother,
Yeah.
or or to someone who has passed.
Yeah.
And so, and interpreting that and intuiting it through the lens of the personality of that person.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I'm reading for other people, of course,
Mm-hmm.
giving the best interpretation and hoping that I'm working side by side with the spirit of their ancestor or their
Ancestor.
loved one. So that's a fun way to use it. And it's been
Mm-hmm.
very helpful for me because I also have studied mediumship and I practice it. Um, but it feels like it's a crutch sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's I have the visual, I have a physical thing, but
Mm.
sometimes it also feels just like a tool that I really love using. So
Mm.
I'm in between those two. And I've also used it to be like, what energy am I projecting onto my house plants?
Right.
Because I realized like sometimes my plant, like the ones that weren't doing well,
Mm-hmm.
it was because I was projecting, like I have a money tree
Mm-hmm.
and it was dying. And I was like, of course, my symbols brain was like, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
I pulled a card and I was the one projecting like this the energy of lack and the energy of not having enough money and feeling and so
Mm-hmm.
my energy was affecting the health of the plant.
Mm-hmm.
So I've used it to like, what does my dog need?
Yeah.
What is my dog trying to tell me?
Yeah.
Um, so I've had all kinds of fun things, and I like to do like even journaling is one of my favorite things.
Mm-hmm.
There's something between like, the brain and the hand that
Yeah.
allows things to come out that are different because it slows the thinking down enough
Mm.
to kind of discern the message a little bit
Yeah.
more efficiently.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
There's one thing I have an idea that I want to do is also coming up with the energy of plants. Like, what is this? what is the energy of the sunflowers growing in my yard? What do they represent for me internally?
Mm. Yeah.
That's really fun.
No.
And
Wow.
like speaking to nature.
Mm-hmm.
What is this tree trying to tell me? Which
Love that.
yeah, I love to be outside, and I help co-lead some women's spirituality and nature retreats.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I like to bridge the gap with that as well, with tarot and
Wow.
strengthening the bond to nature.
Yeah. Yeah. And Amber, you talked briefly about, having a business earlier and then, moving to this. So looking at, what you're doing as a business as well, how difficult or easy has that transition been? And then you also mentioned that, you didn't really have any buddy to look up to or to guide you. So then how did you take this journey on your own, and, what have been the struggles or learnings in the process?
Oh, sure. So we'll start with the business and
Yeah.
like the transition between like that world and this world. Some of it has been so helpful because I feel like I have a very like I'm getting to use both sides of my brain.
Yeah.
I have the intuitive one finally open
Yeah.
and ready to
Yeah.
receive. But then I have all the learnings and lessons from being a business owner and being able to
Mm-hmm.
ground some of that energy into reality and be like, I have a family. I have two kids, have a
Yeah.
husband that I really like being around,
Yeah.
thankfully. So it helped me to prioritize by, because it sometimes I think a lot of us in this work and healing specifically, it is so hard, or it was hard for me. I don't want to speak for everyone.
Yeah.
I feel like it's okay for me to charge people
Right.
or that, but it's funny because if you're a doctor,
Exactly.
like you wouldn't, and you shouldn't think twice about it because there's a lot of work that goes in. And money, I have to get back into that mindset of money is energy. It is
Mm-hmm.
represented energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's also just, it's like not real.
Mm.
Like we all, it was made, it's made up, and we all just kind of agreed to opt into this system, you know? So I have to remember that it's like this is kind of a bit of a game, but to help prioritize my time,
Mm.
that helped me being a business owner and thinking of my time as being valuable and having there was a phrase that came to me in actually a tarot class that I took in serving others in a way that serves me.
Mm. Beautiful.
And yeah, and I was like, oh, it serves my soul, it serves me financially, which helps me prioritize. So when I'm away from my family,
Yeah.
I'm also contributing back to them and
Mm-hmm.
hopefully to society when I'm able to use that money for other things and freaking living a good life.
Yeah.
When I feel good, the readings are good.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that, I think the transition was a lot easier than I thought because it was so much more natural for me to be in the intuitive space. But it
Mm.
was so important for me to have that experience first to understand how to maximize my resources, how to grow something slowly and be patient with myself,
Mm.
how to
Yeah.
understand the value of my time and energy and what I've put into it so far, and how to build on that as I keep going.
Mm.
That, and then I cannot remember your other question. I'm so sorry.
Um,
Oh, no, role models.
yeah, yeah. How was that process? Yeah.
Yeah, it's been mostly exhilarating
Mm-hmm.
in a positive way because it feels and overwhelming at the same time because there's so many options. And I'm a fire person. I mean, I consider myself a fire person. I'm a Leo.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's all kinds of different versions of astrology, and
Mm-hmm.
in another system, I'm probably something else.
Yeah.
That's the one I connect to. And so for me, I'm like, I feel like our beliefs create our reality. I have so much enthusiasm. And like when I get ideas, it's like boom, 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 boom. And I want to
Yeah.
do them all at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
So that's overwhelming because life is a capacity game
Yeah.
and you got to pick one and you got to focus.
Mm-hmm.
But that's been hard for me because of how open ended it is. It's not like this track that
Yeah.
you have set out for you. And that's a lot, it feels like a lot of responsibility to take ownership of my unique path because I
Yeah.
can see the branches of my reality and which directions they can take me. And so I figure what I've had to really come to terms with is making decisions, and it doesn't matter what I pick.
Wow.
It just
Mm.
matters about the feeling in my heart
Mm.
and committing,
Mm-hmm.
committing and seeing it through to honor myself and just being like, I could pick any one of these. It
Mm.
doesn't really matter because I'm going to go like I can't get it wrong.
Yeah.
I don't believe anyone can get it quote unquote wrong.
Mm.
So I've had to learn that just picking the one that even if it's like a half a point more enthusiasm in this one path,
Yeah.
and then I'll be so much more at peace internally and have a
Wow.
focal point. Yeah.
And when you talk about a specific path and sticking to it, Amber, it makes me very nervous because just being a healer or like learning different things, I just struggle so much to stick to one thing. I'm just so interested in like a gazillion things, right? And so
Sure.
yeah,
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 and me too. And I
yeah.
guess what it is like stick to one thing for the amount of time that it feels right.
Hmm. Hmm.
Maybe is a better way to phrase it because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have done a billion things for,
yeah.
and I
Yeah.
kind of still do. I still have a copywriting gig with
Ah,
a
right.
side company that I
Yeah,
love. That I was like, I love them. It's good money and it helps supplement, as
yeah,
I'm growing the tarot thing.
yeah.
But so I guess, yeah, yeah, it
And
feels,
yeah, and you're normalizing the fact that people can be doing various things and love that, right? And it doesn't
yeah,
have to be, yeah. Mm.
yeah, because I think sometimes too is that I'll get into that fallacy of like that FOMO or oh my goodness,
Yeah.
and then I have to remember what I tell other people.
Mm-hmm.
What
Exactly.
what is meant for you will not miss you,
Yes.
even if you need to take a detour. Because I could say
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my gosh, that business that I sold, it was such, but I had to have that experience first. I had to take
Mm.
that detour because I would not appreciate what I'm doing the way that I feel when I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Have the contrast because sometimes I think knowing what you don't want and learning the lessons around it is almost just as helpful as knowing what you do want.
Right.
Because for me, it builds gratitude and appreciation for where I'm at now. And so so for that thing, picking that path at the time until it didn't work. And then it was like,
Yeah.
okay, it's time for me to leave. But, we have, I think, in the Western society, especially, it's like you do one thing, that's it. And you
Yeah.
stick to it and all you do. Or like,
Yeah. Yeah.
an umbrella. And
Yeah.
for me,
Yeah.
I'm like, I've been a writer, I've been a salsa
Mm-hmm.
dance instructor.
Yeah.
I have been a food editor. I have been a bartender.
Nice.
I've done Reiki. I've done, I do tarot. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is how I'm built.
Yeah.
A- And it's okay. I used to be kind of embarrassed and feel like such a flake
Mm-hmm.
because my husband's been at the same job for like 18 years.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm like, well, it's great. We're not the same person. We're
Yeah.
not supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I took the comparison out and I was like, I probably add a lot of spice to, to his
Yeah.
life. It's like,
Yeah.
we're doing this week.
Yeah.
But tarot
Uh,
does feel like something that it took me a long time to get to. I
Right.
mean, long time. I need to zoom out and be like, actually, it's probably pretty short in the span.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
That helped me feel like this is the path for me. Whether
Right.
I think tarot will always be a part. I don't know how
Mm-hmm.
large, how small, but it's like the spiritual path and connecting that to my career.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any going back for me unless I have to.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Then I know there will be a lesson that I have to learn. That's why.
Yeah. And what you said about not knowing what you want, I think that would probably put a lot of people at ease because sometimes we don't really know what we want, but we definitely know what we don't want, right? And that
Yeah.
really helps. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And at least for me, that's been a big lesson. It's just like, great. just try it out, or it feels right in the moment. I'm I have to do things like when I know, I know.
Yeah.
The longer it takes me to make a decision, the less confident I feel. So I almost have to sort of
Mm.
uh, bite on it right then and
Yeah.
just kind of deal with the consequences. Sometimes, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
thank goodness having a family has really helped me kind of
Yeah.
slow down and be
Yeah.
more thoughtful.
Mm-hmm.
I had an astrologer once tell me that he's like, I don't know how you're not living in a tent on Venice Beach, in California. And I was like, that's part of that is that restless part of my soul.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just has to keep moving in those ways.
Mm-hmm.
But so I don't want to like, I think everybody's built differently. Some people need to sit with things a long time, but I think
Yeah.
that when I know I need to go there.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know how they say that it's in order to manifest something, it's important for you to detach from, what it would, the results would be. So how has that, you know, played a role in your life?
I'm terrible at that. It's like, that is the hardest part for me. It is like I will work myself into a frenzy, or like I'll get like I will just dip, I'll
Mm, mm.
nosedive because I'm like, it's not happening. It's taking so long because I have that very specific
Yeah.
version.
Yeah.
And again, as I told you, it's never that.
Exactly.
It's for me, some people it is, and I think that's great. I think it's
Yeah.
great. And I have to like it takes me away from living in the moment.
Yeah.
For me, it's been a life lesson of surrender, like you said earlier. It's the perfect word. I just like there's no other way. And I almost have to peak and not explode.
Yeah.
Implode,
Yeah.
it's more about imploding. It's the
Yeah.
tower card tarot. It's so funny.
Yeah.
I like really think in archetypes.
Yeah.
And then once that happens, I feel like so much better. I don't care. I'm able to detach because
Mm-hmm.
it's like I've had to put the dynamite somehow internally, like, just say boom. With that comes like an explosion of emotions.
Yeah.
That is how my cycle or my process or whatever. Of course, I'm trying to refine that so it's not so
Yeah.
extreme.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Dramatic. Yeah.
that's how I've been able to kind of like move forward and move past these blocks of getting too attached to the outcome and what it needs to
Mm-hmm.
look like in my timing, right?
Yeah.
And my ego is like, all right, when's this
Yeah.
coming?
Yeah.
Come
Yeah.
on, y'all, I've done the work. Can you
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
see? And
Yeah.
and they're like, oh no, we see you.
Yeah.
Just you have to let it unfold.
But then, Amber, when clients come in and they have the same reaction, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, it's so much easier for me to be on the other side, right? Because I
Yeah.
don't have emotional attachment. That is the
Yeah.
best gift that I've learned is my detachment to their personal life is the best gift I can give them.
Exactly.
It's the challenge I have with reading for myself.
Right.
You understand that as well. It's like I have a very specific set of expectations. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing what I want to see in the cards.
Yeah.
So when I do it for other people, I don't know what they've been through most of the time. Of course, I have clients that come back and I know their story and it
Right.
becomes coaching.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it helps me because I have some level of a boundary between us
Mm-hmm.
that creates so much more truth that I'm able to offer. But I
Mm-hmm.
also have the experience of all the disappointments and the frustrations and of being human and grief that I can
Yeah.
also have a level of empathy that when I deliver messages, it feels loving and soft and that I feel like I can deliver it and I want to. I feel like my
Yeah.
delivery is the biggest gift
Yeah.
of wanting how would I want someone to tell me even though I want something so desperately. that the cards are saying it's not time yet, or you might need to
Mm.
pivot or whatever, or you need to look at things from a different angle. That I would want this loving voice to hold my hand,
Yeah.
guide me through it in a way that feels like it's telling me the truth,
Hmm.
but it's not harsh. It's not
Yeah.
this, it's a reminder that like they're not alone in this
Hmm.
experience.
Mm.
It's okay, like don't dismiss your feelings of being disappointed. Uh, Lean into the frustration so that you can express it and don't hold it in, because that
Right.
becomes that inward, that's the devil to me, the devil
Yeah.
card. It's
Yeah.
that inward focus suppression that just turns up everything.
Hmm.
And that, there's always hope
Yeah.
in a situation, even when we can't get there mentally.
Yeah.
I like to be the reminder of that.
Hmm.
That's the best. Oh man, I live for that.
Yeah.
I live for that, and I
Yeah.
love it. And it feels holy. It feels
Hmm.
sacred.
Yeah.
It feels like a connection to something so much bigger than just my tiny little world.
Yeah.
And that, whew, I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. So then, Amber, can everyone who comes to you, can all of them be helped?
It depends on their level of openness to listening.
Hmm. Hmm.
It depends on where they are.
Right.
And I think sometimes I think it is, again, my gift of delivery and connection, but also the distance at the same time,
Right.
emotionally from their situation. I have been told, and I'm trying to own it instead of being weirdly humble, of like,
Hmm.
um, because I feel like it is a gift that people have said it's so easy to talk to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so easy for me to tell you the truth.
Hmm.
I feel very comfortable and warm around you.
Yeah.
And so I think it's so much, it's so funny because I'm sure the cards are the prompts for the conversations that we have. They're very spot on. I've learned to trust them. But
Hmm.
also I think it's just like anyone singing a song, right? We could all sing the same song. We have
Mm.
different vocal cords. We have different expressions of that song. We have different ways of holding each note.
Hmm.
The song that I sing with the tarot, it offers something warm, and I hope loving. And I think that's over 50% of the ability to send out this healing energy. And I
Yeah.
just want people to feel heard. I want
Yeah.
them to feel witnessed. I want them to feel like they belong.
Hmm.
There's space for them. They matter. And
Hmm.
they deserve everything that they want by existing.
Yeah.
They're here and it's not a mistake.
Hmm.
And they're going through things. Sometimes it's great things, sometimes it's hard things.
Mm.
And that all of it does matter in some way, big or small.
Mm.
And it just helps me get into my heart space. And so selfishly, I like to live there as much as I can.
Yeah.
But I think it's helping other people too. And so I don't know that everyone can be helped. How's that? Because
Yeah.
if they're not ready,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
okay. But
Hmm.
then maybe it sparks something down the line that they'll be more ready and they'll have some other experience outside of mine that they'll have a little memory. I just think everyone that comes to me there, I do believe there is a reason that we interact. And I have to have faith in that. But I
Hmm.
think some people probably, because tarot, pardon me, I'm getting choked up again, I guess, that there's a reason that, yeah, I think every interaction serves a purpose.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
tarot for me isn't usually super specific. It's way more
Hmm.
themes and archetypes. The way that I read,
Right.
sometimes it gets specific and I can see certain combinations. And the more I read,
Hmm.
I get better and better. I'm like, you're probably moving or you just moved. And they're like, oh,
Right.
yeah. And I'm always kind of like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this thing works.
Right.
But a lot of times it's like people want certainty or they want the tarot to tell them what decision to make. And in my experience, it never says do this or do that.
Right.
It helps you weigh the energy around a decision.
Mm-hmm.
You still have that free will and that ability to feel like you did this and to not place the responsibility on the cards,
Yeah.
but ownership. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's tarot, the way I've seen it play out. It's like it helps people take ownership of their own decisions.
Yeah.
It will not tell them how to decide.
Mm-hmm.
So some people aren't ready for that.
Yeah. Two things that come to mind. One is that even when I'm doing readings, I mean, over the years, I've realized that just having that interaction, like for instance, the way you were just talking and like it seemed like everything was coming from your heart, just listening to it was cathartic, just like I could feel, the love flow. So just readings in itself can be healing, right? And healing experience for people, right? So people
Connection.
come for readings, but they go with like this glow, right? Yeah.
Yes, you nailed it. It is just the connection between two people or
Mm-hmm.
seven people or whatever the event is. And it's it's intangible.
Yeah.
It's healing. And and I think it's because I'm in a space where I feel so connected
Mm,
to all that is. And
yeah.
it's flowing through me because I think it is because my intentions are pure,
Mm-hmm.
which I've never felt that way before. Like in the
Yeah.
business, it's all about transactions. Nothing wrong with it. I get it. And I
Yeah.
have transactions now. I'm having to push myself to be do more business because I get the opportunity to do the
Yeah.
work that I love. And
Exactly.
but it's so funny because it's the same thing I'm still promoting and marketing, which at my other business felt like hollow and
Mm,
old, you know,
yeah. Yeah.
and I still have the old beliefs. So I'm trying to push past them and be like, I'm creating more opportunity for me to do the thing that I love and to help
Mm,
people. Yes, I make money and I need to. It has to be sustainable.
yeah.
And but I'm kind of trying to push through that. Like, I'm like, does anybody want to read this newsletter? Like, does anybody
Mm.
care? Are they so sick of me? Do they want to hear about this event that I'm going to be at? And it feels like all that self promotion.
And woes of a small business owner.
Right. But then I'm like, well, if I don't say anything and I've built
Yeah.
an audience, like, come on, Amber, it's okay. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
just do it.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
can sit with them and be in that space and share
Mm-hmm.
that energy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's you nailed it in terms of how the business owner feels versus what the value we are providing, and we got to bring it together, right?
Yes.
Because it needs to exist together.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
possible. It's
Yeah, it's
possible.
possible.
It is an interesting marriage. How's that?
Yeah, perfect. And then when we are serving people and when you're out there, so then how do you work around boundaries, Amber, in terms of protecting yourself from, say, sometimes harsh energies, or we all know it's not always a happy reading. So what is your suggestion for people out there who are maybe entering this world or who want to know more? What are some things they need to be careful about?
Sure. Um, Everybody's different, not surprising. For
Mm-hmm.
me, my boundaries come from really taking good care of myself.
Yeah.
Like really having like making sure my mental health is in a good place. And when it's not, I do not read. Take a break.
Yeah.
Um, I just had to do that. And guess what? I came back 20-fold. I just feel like my
Yeah.
reading is so much stronger and on point. So take a break when you need.
Mm-hmm.
Notice that you're feeling depleted. I um I mean it's kind of simple. Drink more water than you think that
Yes.
because I don't when I have a cup of water and I'm drinking it, I think there's some kind of spiritual energy that flows through the water in our body and
Yeah.
I have better readings when I'm better hydrated. It's funny how
Mhm.
simple.
Mhm.
Um and awesome because I'm
Yeah.
like, that's so easy.
Mm.
Let's see. I have gotten to the place where I don't second guess my readings.
Wow.
Finally. So when I come
Mm-hmm.
home, there's nothing here. And if
Yeah.
there is, and it feels important, I will get in touch with that person. And there was one time that I did that, and she has turned into a regular client. We had a terrible reading, and she and I were both in weird places. And then I
Mm-hmm.
felt like it felt unfinished. So I followed my intuition. It felt so weird and like humbling to text
Mm-hmm.
her like, "Hey, I feel like I really want to start over and give you a new reading because something felt off." And she loved it. And she's been one of my best referral clients. And it just like the universe knew that
Yeah.
somehow I needed to experience that open-endedness, but that doesn't really happen anymore because I've gained more confidence.
Yeah.
If I did, I would act on it. So if
Mm-hmm.
there's an open tab from a
Yeah.
client that you
Yeah.
have, anybody getting into this, and it's nagging you and you can't put it to bed and it won't go away, there's a reason. So pay attention to it. Do what you need to find closure.
Mm.
And then I think that's when you can move forward and not carry that energy with you.
Right.
I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that people can do too. I mean, I feel like even a shower,
Mm-hmm.
very helpful for me when I start to
Mm.
feel icky.
Yeah.
And I don't even do the visualizations I used to. I just take the shower.
Yeah.
I used to have
Yeah.
all these visualizations about all the energy, which again, it all works for however you want it to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think just really taking good care of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
really being aware of the state of your mental health, the state of your physical health, taking a break from it and not pushing yourself too hard
Mm-hmm.
when you're tired. And of course,
Mm.
you're going to, it's okay.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
You're going to learn from it. And I don't have any like big rituals, or
Mm-hmm.
I used to, and they never felt right for me.
Yeah.
It came down to daily routine,
Good. Yeah.
my energy and my vibration, my
Mm-hmm.
frequency in a place that felt really like who I am at the core.
Yeah.
Snoozing when it's not like that. Taking extreme measures if you have to.
Yeah.
Get
So, I
yourself
mean, you know, yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, that's like the work that we do on ourselves. And of course, we give suggestions to our clients as well, right?
yeah.
So, have you seen people who are, you know, addicted to drama or suffering and they don't really listen to?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
had to tell them I cannot read for you anymore.
Yeah.
I know I'm not helping them.
Mm-hmm.
I know that they're not in that place to receive. And a lot of times it's interesting because like through the reading, I can just feel the disconnection.
Yeah.
They're in their own world, their own bubble. They're trying to see what they want to see. I get it. I am also that person. But
Mm-hmm.
that it's not, I feel I don't want to take their money. It
Exactly.
drops me down. It's not helping them. So I've had like
Mm.
that's where you're right, the boundary work comes in. It's like, sorry, it's not, we're not a good fit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had a couple, about 3 clients that had to say like, or when they keep coming back very frequently,
Right.
when I'm like, you haven't given the situation enough time to shift
Mm. Mm.
and it doesn't feel right as much as I want your money.
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting take, Amber, that on the one hand, you know, we are working and we, you know, what value we are providing, we are charging people. And then at the same time, there is something known as ethics, right? And energy. And if we don't function in that sense, I mean, bad energies will anyways not help us prosper, right?
And
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
going to help them. They're not going to
yeah,
get anywhere near where they need to go.
yeah, yeah.
It's all every single time I've had to do the boundary, it's because I know someone is not ready to step up
Mm-hmm.
and take responsibility for their life. They're
Right.
and and I know I've been there for a long time. So I
Mm-hmm.
can have the empathy of being in the victim mode. Everything has
Yeah,
happened to me.
yeah,
It's so prevalent, and even, we kind of have to go through a little bit of that to get to
yeah.
the other side and see that everything is happening for me.
Mm-hmm.
or to be able to reach that mind space.
Mm.
And if they're not there and they're not getting there, we're not going to work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And boundaries are the hardest thing for me, cutting people off or being assertive in that way, because I do have that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I just want to hug everybody,
Yeah.
energetically and literally. And,
Mm-hmm.
but there's been some people that have taught me lessons on how to say no and say, no, what clear is, Brene Brown says, clear is kind, unclear is unkind. And
Mm.
unclear is used to be my modus operandi.
Yeah.
And it used to be like kind of skirting around it or avoiding. And it was cruel.
Yeah.
It was not kind, even though it feels like it's unkind to cut somebody off.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
awkward. It feels weird. It feels gross. And you're sort of like, am I a bad person? Then you have to remember, no, this is not good for them or me. Like, why would I continue this? Zoom
Yeah.
out a little bit, and like, their time is precious, your time is precious. Ugh, do the hard thing and then move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Take a shower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and it's not easy. I mean, and also with practice, I guess one learns, right? And becomes better, especially with
It
this.
gets easier. It does get easier. It's like every time you file a little evidence away that it's safe for you to set a boundary, it
Mm.
gets easier to set boundaries in the future.
Yeah.
It's like a
Yeah.
little file cabinet back there. It's like, oh, okay, the last time it wasn't so scary. It was
Yeah.
all the lead up. And then I did it. And then I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders.
Wow.
Ah, okay, I get it. So it
Mm-hmm.
does get like, it builds momentum.
Mm-hmm.
Builds momentum.
There's just one question that's just popping in my head. So a lot of people, use certain cards in the deck. For example, Empress for abundance, or like the moon for, the mom, or the sun for the dad. So can people use specific cards, for manifestation even without it like it resonating with their energy for that day?
Yes. Like if you want
Ah,
to feel a certain kind of way, and that's the thing. It's a set system, but that's the beauty of it. It's like I love having these limitations.
yeah.
See how creative I can get with it. So
Mm-hmm.
absolutely, when you want to, like I've definitely taken the card that I want to embody or the
Right.
energy that I want to bring into a situation. And I don't pick it at random. I pick it
Mm-hmm.
intentionally. And that feels so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
That feels so good because, again, I don't know why this word keeps coming back up, because I think healing depends on it. It's taking
Yeah.
responsibility
Yeah.
and owning something and being like, I
Mm.
do want this,
Mm-hmm.
and picking that card and saying, thanks for helping me visualize it.
Yeah.
Thanks for helping me connect to that energy. Thanks for helping me anchor something in the physical world that is living in my spirit,
Yeah.
my mind, and giving me a totem or whatever it is that you want.
Mm-hmm.
And saying,
Mm-hmm.
I I have a say in this too. And co-create, I want to create this in my life. And I'll tell you what, it works.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
But the subconscious is a fascinating place that when you have these images, specifically these symbols that have been, they carry the energy of, hundreds of years, and those were built off of symbols and from hundreds of years,
Yeah.
ties us to this eternal thing. And the subconscious speaks in symbols, it does not
Yeah.
speak in language,
Mm.
it speaks in symbols. And so think of it as your garden.
Mm-hmm.
Once you plant a seed, you tend to it and you water it, but most of the work it's doing on its own.
Mm.
And so if you're clearing that, if you're making sure the soil is fertile, and the cards are the energy that you're planting, and you give it time.
Mm.
So I think the subconscious is like a garden, and
Mm-hmm.
specifically the soil.
Yeah.
And tending to the soil is the most important part, which is what we're constantly doing. Clearing, it's like that moon cycle. It's the full moon is like, pulling up the weeds or getting out the things that are ripe and that are ready to be harvested.
Yeah.
And then In the in-between, it's about nourishing the soil and for, making sure it's well nourished. And so I think these cards, if you pick one and you do it intentionally, it's like you're planting seeds in a garden.
Wow.
So I think there's so much that we can do, but it's so much more about keeping the soil healthy and watering it. And the seed does its own thing. It's got a built-in set of instructions and it knows exactly what to do. And there's so little that we need to do to actually make it work,
Wow.
except allow it the space to grow.
Mm.
And that has been, again, just something I've learned, that long-term growth is really hard mentally. The
Yeah.
heart and the conscious, the masculine side of us, that's outward focus. But the feminine subconscious, the moon, is not worried.
Mm-hmm.
No, all things grow in a cycle. All things come in their own time, and then they will grow. They will peak. We get to harvest them and use them. Sometimes they will drop their own seeds, right? To grow things that we don't know. They're in a garden, it's called volunteer plants. They're
Right.
so fun. You're like, oh my God, where'd this tomato come from?
Mm.
Oh, the
Yeah.
tomatoes I planted 2 years ago. Amazing.
Mm.
And sometimes you're planting them intentionally. Like, I really want collard greens, or, I like,
Mm.
I like gardening. Looking at my garden right now. And it's taught me so much. Like, the metaphors it's perfect metaphor to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Using things like tarot cards and having a physical anchor of something in spirit or something that's energetic only, and having it like be pulled through the tree of life or whatever you subscribe to, all of the different energies that and the journey it needs to take, from spirit to mental to emotional to physical.
Mm.
And I think they're a great tool to anchor what you want, or what you want to feel,
Yeah.
what you want to embody. It does help me detach sometimes to have those archetypes and be like, Empress, I don't know what it looks like. I just know what I want to feel like. And I want to feel like you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You look like you're super comfortable sitting back on that chair in the middle of a forest.
Mhm.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
Or I want the joy of the outward focus energy of the sun,
Right.
like you said. I
Mm-hmm.
want the mystery and the wildness of the moon.
Mm.
Or I want to find patience with the Seven of Pentacles and to have faith in what I'm growing and
Yeah.
not give up on it and see it through to the end. Or I need the surrender of the Ten of Swords, even if it's painful.
Yeah.
God, I'm such a nerd. I can't stop thinking of all of these.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not a nerd. It's just I really, really love these
Yeah.
symbols. It becomes very personal to me in the best possible way. So that's my bird clock. There, it's acknowledging how
Yeah.
much speaking of wilderness,
Yeah. Yeah.
how much I love these symbols. It just, the healing that's available there is it's blown me away, because of course I started as an old school, like not knowing, having zero clue, having no one I knew that did tarot,
Mm.
except a friend at the time who was a bit of a guide for me. But it was still so new, and being
Yeah.
afraid, you get that devil card coming from Catholicism, you're like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
you grow up, and it's just like the depth inside that you cultivated. It shows up in your interpretations of the cards. So
Yeah.
when I didn't have the depth of the knowledge of knowing who I am, in my 20s or early 30s, it was really scary to get certain
Mm.
cards. Like, who's gonna stab me in the back? What?
Yeah.
I realize it's no, these are, for me, internal, personal experiences that I've been through, that are just here to represent that, a mirror, and be like,
Yeah.
"This is what it feels like."
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I think over the years, the reader also gets used to it, and then that's how then they can read for other people and also not transmit the fear, right? And Yes.
not project my own insecurities onto someone else. That was
Yeah.
a thing. I went through this therapy called EMDR. I cannot remember
Mhm.
exactly
Yeah.
the um I can't remember what it means
Yeah. Yeah.
or how powerful it was for me to overcome
Mhm.
some trauma that I
Mhm.
just could not get, like, quote unquote, get rid of or heal from.
Mhm.
Get rid of it
Yeah.
for a reason, whatever. That
Yeah.
helped me. I could see the cards in a new light. Part of it is bilateral brain stimulation.
Right. Right.
Because there's, like, for me, it was a dot on a screen that I followed. And so it connects the halves of your brain. And it almost,
Mm.
it's a circuit. And after that, I saw the cards, I embodied them, I felt the energy of what I had been through and could see them in the archetype.
Wow.
And it was really cool. That's when I knew I could read for other people because
Yeah.
it was like, oh, I'm receiving the intuitive messages that are on the card
Mhm.
and relaying it to this other person through their filter of their experience and my experience. And then I have the knowledge of the technical things and the keywords and all the things I've learned over the years from my Tarot for Dummies book or online sources or whatever it is. And
Yeah.
I could marry those two of, like, feeling into it, how it's showing up for this person, but also I needed, not, it's not only intuitive, it's definitely, it's like both sides of
Yeah.
logic and intuition. And I think
Mm.
that's the most powerful for me way to do it, because I know there's,
Mm.
there's camps, people are like, you don't need to take classes, and so maybe they don't, and that's cool, and
Yeah.
it's all intuitive,
Yeah.
great. But for me, I loved getting to use all of it together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my own
Wow.
trauma and this
Mhm.
the healing that I sought for that
Mhm.
led me to the ability to do it for other people in this
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
It's really amazing how all of this, the puzzle pieces, kind of come together over time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Ooh, okay, so we are almost at the last segment now. Um, I would like you to tell us a little bit about Amber outside of, the tarot world or the healing world, and what motivates you, and what else keeps you busy.
food.
Yeah, yeah.
So much food. I think like I was a food writer for a long time. And so and my husband works at a brewery. So
Uh,
like, we really enjoy cooking. We love entertaining people and feeding people.
yeah.
I love cocktails. I love beer. I
Yeah,
love wine in moderation, of course. I've learned my lessons. But I mean, but I know it's kind of fascinating because, there's everybody runs the
yeah,
gamut.
yeah,
There's some
yeah.
people that are like, no alcohol, it messed up with my vibration. And I've also kind of had to come to terms with, like, I like it. I'm good at moderating it. And sometimes it's medicinal that when I'm in a place that is like
Yeah.
in my, if I have a glass of wine and it's not a coping mechanism because I have tons of those, it really just kind of puts me back into a reality that I'm like, Amber, this is not so serious. Like, life is
Yeah.
really good. Life is really good. And it puts me in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why I needed to clarify that, but it kind of felt good to even talk that out. So thank you
Yeah.
for therapy, Anisha. That's how I, like, process things. They just gotta come out of this mouth or come out of the hand.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'm sure it's helping a lot of people who are hearing and,
right.
validating their fears or
True. Okay.
non-fears.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love gardening a lot.
Hmm.
I like to be outside. One of my huge passions, and I'm trying to figure out how to synthesize it with the tarot and the healing work that I do,
Yeah.
is I have recently helped go into the mountains of Pennsylvania with a group of women, and we do a
Mm,
backpacking trip.
nice.
And the guide, she's awesome. Her name is Beth Jones, and her organization is called Deep Green Journey. Hi, Beth. And she leads these women, and I got to help her and assist her. And she's a certified forest bathing and forest therapy guide. So we go in with a
Nice.
spiritual lens. But it's also the backpacking itself. It's the self-sufficiency. It's the energy of, like, being like, I literally only need what I have on my back and what nature's going to provide. it's freaking powerful. And we go and they're called invitations.
Mm.
They're really moments of prompts to go in and contemplate being in that space,
Wow.
deepening our experience with the natural world and letting it like deepen our experience with our own spirit. And
Mm.
it is, I'm probably going to get or do a program to where I become certified as well in forest bathing or forest therapy, because it's done amazing things for me.
Wow.
And I think just the more people that get outside and get in touch with nature, I mean, there's nothing bad that can come out of it. It's
Mm.
only positive. It's only
Mm.
positive. And talk about healing. It just puts you in that space
Mm.
immediately. It disarms you because you don't have these things blinking at you. You don't have messages like we're not being bombarded. It's like it just relaxes everything.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
being near a stream or water. So like obviously being in nature is a big thing for me. Very,
Mm.
very, very big. I love hiking,
Mm.
but I'm always the slowest one. And I'm like stopping to look at all the flowers. And again, I've just kind of taken ownership of that.
Yeah.
Yoga, which I love your newsletter.
Yeah.
And for both the physical and the spiritual, which I know it's all connected, so it's not one or the other, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Brain is like, well, this and this. No, it's
Mm.
holistic. It has been
Mm.
healing. Qigong.
Yeah.
I Qigong. Uh,
Mm.
obviously, I have a lot of interest. I
Yeah. Yeah.
travel, but
Wonderful.
travel usually because of the nature part of it.
Mm.
And I have a big family that lives fairly close, an
Mm-hmm.
extended, and I am so fortunate to have the most loving, warm, inviting parents
Wow.
that have like we spend a lot of time with them, and they treat it like it feels so good at this point in my life to spend time with them and my cousins, and
Yeah.
just celebrated my youngest daughter's birthday there this weekend, and it was just like the light of, it just
Yeah.
was amazing. So I have so many interests. It's like it's hard to yeah, I love cooking and
Ah.
eating and drinking. I love salsa dancing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure
And are
there's
you a teacher? Did you say that? No.
no, I'm not a
Okay.
teacher. Not a
Okay.
traditional one. I hope to teach a tarot class soon.
Mm.
Um, I
Interesting.
love the art of ritual and building my own little rituals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Branch out into that more. The invitations on the camping trips feel a little bit like rituals too,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is I'm
Mm.
like, I'm not going to
Mm.
call it witchcraft because it might freak some people out, but that's
Yeah, but why Pennsylvania, Amber? Is there a significance there?
that is where Beth lives.
Ah,
She's
okay.
the
Okay.
leader, so I follow
Hmm.
her.
Okay.
Why? Because there's
Interesting.
no mosquitoes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about, Houston and
Is
imagine going out. Yeah.
definitely we would be on opposite ends of the season, but she knows those trails like the back of her
Yeah.
hand. So I
Yeah.
just go to assist, but I hope to get to that level somewhere, or integrate it more into my practices and my healing practices with other people.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure, and I don't know how it's going to take shape. I'm trying to detach from how it needs to look and let it be
Yeah.
organic. It may
Wow.
be 10 years from now that I'm
Yeah.
leaving. And I
Just
have,
enjoying the journey. Yeah.
yeah. And so in the meantime, I have what I do know right now is
Yeah.
working with tarot. So
Hmm.
it's really been, and talking to you also, it's just like I'm reminded that good things take time. They do. They just need more time. And I'm still detoxing from this instant gratification part of me
Mm.
that kind of gets impatient, and life
Yeah.
redirects me every time and says, "Oh my gosh, go hang out with your family and have a party,
Yeah.
watch the cousins play together,
Yeah.
and just be like, wow, this is my life. Don't, this is part of it. It's a whole picture. It's not just this one thing that
Yeah.
can grow without you staring at it. Like, all right,
Yeah.
grow or not. No, let it freaking grow. Go
Mhm.
do the other stuff right now that's calling you and just enjoy it because that's why we're here.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least that's why I'm here.
Mhm. Yeah.
Uh, and I kind of get in that serious mode and get weighed down with all my expectations that I put there. And then I have to kind of zoom out again and be like, all right, just go have fun, Amber. Like, lighten up,
Yeah. Yeah.
move on. And then those
Mm.
things grow anyway. You're like, no,
Yeah.
we were growing the whole time, you silly.
Yeah. Wow. And then Amber, this podcast is about hope and miracles. So, in your experience over the years, working with people, why don't you share a few stories where you've seen miracles, based on your reading or healings, and so that it can inspire people.
Oh, I love that. Well, I never know up front. It's usually like a
Yeah.
couple years later, I'll like get in touch with somebody and they're like, so for instance, one person that I go read at her shop now,
Yeah. Yeah.
I opened this because of the reading I had with you. And I was like, I didn't. Of course I did. I don't assume anything. And I
Yeah.
walk away with what I need, right? And it's no longer validation.
Right.
It's a feeling. And so I don't do a lot of follow-up, like, how did the thing work out or whatever?
Mm.
Because I don't, in some ways I don't care.
Yeah.
Not
Exactly.
mine. So that was really cool to hear. Like, and it was full circle because I was in there reading. She goes, I
Mhm.
was really in a tough place and I knew I needed a way to express myself and I wasn't sure. And I'd always had this idea and all of the cards validated what I wanted to do. And I really needed that push
Mm.
to take action instead of just wallowing in this
Yeah.
uncertainty or like, what should I do? So that was a really cool one. I've had other people say, it's just like when the cards come out and the people kind of freak out
Yeah.
in a, it's not a negative way that they're just like, there was a guy one time that I was reading for, a younger guy in his 20s. It was at a bar. So it was like one of those environments, which I also love just as much as the quiet, sparkling sound
Yeah.
bath. There's no wrong place for me to read tarot.
Yeah.
His friend was really sweet. These two young guys in their 20s. So it's not my normal.
Mm.
And so I was really excited to do this. And I read for him. He didn't say a word. He just like his eyes were as big as saucers. And he goes, have you been following me around in your car or something? For me,
Yeah.
it was like, my ego was like, whoa,
Yeah.
validation, stuff works. But like, I think he really felt, obviously, it struck a nerve. He felt
Yeah.
so witnessed that it almost was, I think I opened, that's what I love is opening people to the possibility that there's something more,
Yeah, exactly.
not all there is. And even if that's the only seed that you plant with someone, it's a big
Mm.
freaking seed.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not alone. I'm being witnessed. There's something else about this journey that like I shuffle the hell out of these cards.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're like, it's like that song by Roberta Flack, and it's like I sing in my life with his words.
Mm.
Killing me softly with his song. I feel like tarot can do that. It's like, what?
Mm.
Oh my gosh, this is exactly what I'm going through. You
Yeah.
cannot help but feel like, okay, there's something bigger.
Something bigger. Yeah.
So a lot of times it's kind of that like little spark that I get. Oh my God,
Mm.
it's magic for me and it's magic for them.
Yeah.
And another time, this has nothing to do with tarot, but I think it has to do with the way that I live my life. And I'm again, I associate myself with the Leo archetype of being kind of out with it. And
Mm-hmm.
when I do something, it's just let's go for it. And I shaved my head during COVID because I had short hair and I didn't feel like it just looked, messy. And I was like, well, if there's ever a time,
Yeah.
go for it. And I shaved it. And I had a blast. And so, but I posted like, hey, I'm not sick because I didn't want people to worry about me because I knew that would be the first thing. And I'm like, this was 100% just me. And I read for people yesterday and she goes, I have to tell you right before you leave that when you shaved your head, when I was diagnosed with cancer, a year later, like seeing you, that you had just done it for fun, it gave me so much more courage when I was starting to lose my hair and I shaved it all off and I just wore it. I didn't wear a wig and I didn't, it was hot, and that it really helped me feel more at home when I had to do it. And I was like, so sometimes the healing is that we're being ourselves.
Yeah.
And we're taking ownership of our desires and doing something about it. That is the healing mechanism for other people.
Other people.
So part of it is also just living my life the way I want, and knowing that it's not selfish. It's giving permission to other people too.
Wow.
So, but yes, but a lot of tarot stuff too. It's like any prize, which is
taking a deep breath. Yeah. So it just feels like,
yeah, it's like when someone cries, I know I'm offering a release. And they're like, does this happen often? I'm like, it does. And it's a part of the journey. It's a healthy thing. It means your heart is opening.
Yeah.
To feel some things that you haven't been able to feel.
And
the highest compliment, and to me, it's its own miracle, is that someone can walk away from having an experience with the cards and with hopefully what I'm bringing to it and what they're bringing to it, right? It's a mutual exchange every single time. They're the ones who are healing themselves.
Yeah.
I am offering the perspective to mirror that back to them and remind them that they're capable of doing it. Is when someone walks away and says, I feel so much better.
That's it.
Yeah. That's it. It's like, wow, this works. It's part of all the modalities that exist. And it's really cool that it found me.
Yeah.
And it healed me. And I get to offer it to other people. Give me a break. What is it? So cool.
Yeah. It's so cool. Yeah. Wow. Oh my God, Amber. It's it was such a fun conversation, and like I can feel the healing. I'm sure other people can also feel it, when they hear listen to our conversation. Yeah.
I'm like, I can't wait. I'm gonna have like a crazy yoga session after this. So
Okay.
good. I'm gonna like blast off into outer space.
And Amber, for people who want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
The best way to do it is amberambrose.com.
Okay.
My website, amberambrose.com, because speaking of boundaries,
Yeah.
that has helped me build something that it's not like all hours of the day.
Yeah.
And that's the expectations for people. And it's a good professional boundary between me and scheduling. It doesn't, it goes automatically, and I have all my calendars synced up so that
Perfect.
when you go in there, has the set prices. So you know exactly what you're paying for. It's not confusing.
Yeah.
And I have events on there too. So if you would prefer, if you're in the Houston area, prefer to come see me in person, or you're not ready to, spend $100 on an hour reading, I get it. Come see me for a $25 reading in a bar, have fun, bring your friends.
Yeah.
And then you can go from there. It's like a little test.
And all your readings can be done online, right?
Yes, they can all be done online. And if you're, again, within a short radius, I love online, again, because of the boundaries. Though.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. And because people aren't stressed trying to get somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we can both arrive just kind of calm. And it works exactly the same. I just want to, I'm sure you have to, and I get wanting to be in person.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you are, it'll work out. If not, it'll be online and you'll receive the same level. I promise.
Perfect. I'm going to put all the information in our show notes. And yeah, it was such a pleasure and honor to have you, Ambrose. Thank you so much for coming.
I feel the same. Thank you. Bye, Anisha.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.